Hello and welcome to another In a Nutshell video. This video will look at the topic 1F in the Christianity components of the Religious Studies A-Level from Eduqas. Topic 1F looks at two views of Jesus, the view of John Dominic Crossan and the view of N T Wright. This topic helps students to understand different modern perspectives on the person of Jesus and how scholars have reached their conclusions about who Jesus was. In this video, we are going to look at the approach taken by N T Wright to discover his own view of Jesus. N T Wright is a former Bishop of Durham in the Church of England. He believes that each person has their own worldview and that all people today are influenced by an Enlightenment worldview. This worldview relies on sense experience and it distinguishes between history and faith. Wright argues that this Enlightenment worldview gives history a public space for discussion, while faith is assigned to a more private realm. He argues that too many Christians keep their faith to themselves by accepting this Enlightenment worldview. Wright also identifies the worldview of the people at the time of the New Testament. He highlights how the covenant was an important concept in the first century. This was also a time when history, faith, politics, and spirituality were not separate. Therefore, to say that Jesus only speaks privately to a person's own heart is a distortion of the worldview Jesus would have experienced in the first century. Wright rejects two forms of the Enlightenment worldview. Firstly, he rejects naive realism, which claims that what a person knows is only known through the senses. This view proposes that it would not be possible to know Jesus as we do not have any sense experiences of Jesus today. Secondly, Wright rejects phenomenalism, which is a view which states that a person can only know what they think they sense. This view suggests that it is impossible to know anything beyond ourselves, and so we cannot understand Jesus as we have a different worldview to people in the first century. Upon rejecting both of these views, Wright proposes an alternative. Critical realism accepts that we can know things that are different from ourselves, but we should be critical of our own worldview when looking for something beyond ourselves. We all have our own biases, and what we might question shouldn't immediately be dismissed as false or wrong. Critical realism will then result in either the observer accepting a new story, rejecting the story, or it may be that the story needs to be changed. So, to study the historical Jesus, we need to study historical texts and be critical of the assumptions that they give us the whole truth. We should not see Jesus as an object of historical study, representing a superstitious pre-scientific age, but we should be open to the possibility of finding him relevant to challenging our own worldview. There needs to be a dialogue between our worldview and his. To summarize, Wright argues that when attempting to know about Jesus, we must be aware of our own worldview and the assumptions that we might make because of our own biases. Once we are aware of our own worldview and how they are different to the worldviews from 2,000 years ago, we can begin to make critical observations about who Jesus was. Now, this is a difficult topic, so do come back to this video again to make sure that you start to understand Wright's methods. Thanks for watching, and make sure you press the subscribe button down below.